Welcome back to Mr. News Art Class. It's wonderful to see your smiling faces today. The materials we're using today are assorted construction paper, different colors, and construction paper crayons. These are different from regular crayons because they work no matter what color the paper is. They work better on colored paper than regular crayons do. Now, our objective with these construction papers and construction paper crayons today, we're trying to think about the style of Eric Carle, famous illustrator of children's books, and how he would create papers that had textures on them and then cut those out and turn them into shapes to create different characters and environments for his illustrations. For today, all we're worried about is creating the textures. Next time we can cut them out. So we're going to take an entire sheet of paper of whatever color you want. And when we create textures, the first most important thing we need to think about is patterns. Here's what I mean by that. If I just scribble scrabble all over this thing, it might make an interesting texture for certain types of things, but not usually. Instead, I'd be better off if I have a plan. For example, this kind of line, what we call a scalloped line or a bumpy line, if I repeat that, could be used to look like water, could be used to look like scales on a fish or a dragon, could be used for many different things, maybe rocks or pebbles. So what I want to do is fill this entire page with a pattern repeating that same kind of line. A pattern is when you repeat, so here I'm just repeating the same kind of line over and over again. Now for some of our patterns, see I filled the page. Now for some of our patterns, we want to think specifically about real life textures. Things like wood, things like scales on a dragon or scales on a fish or on a snake. But for some of our textures, let me grab another paper here. For some of our textures, we want to think about just making patterns. Not so much worrying about making those into realistic textures, but any kind of pattern will make a texture. For example, maybe I take a green here and I do something like a straight line. And then orange, wavy, straight, wavy. Is that a pattern? Straight. What comes next? Wavy. What comes next? Straight, wavy. And if I keep going and fill up the entire page this way, then this will get me an interesting pattern which will make an interesting texture. I could use it for many different things. I could use it simply as a background. I could use it as vines, now that I look at it. I could use it as maybe the side of a building. There's so many things I could use this for. I didn't have any of those in my mind when I made this pattern. I just decided straight lines, wavy lines. So, with that thought in mind, what are some different kinds of lines and shapes we could use to create patterns? Well, we could use straight lines. We could use wavy lines. We could use zigzags. We could use spirals. We could use dash lines or dot lines or circle lines, just a row of circles. You could do that with any shape, triangle, You get the idea. You could use shapes to make patterns. You could make a pattern of square, oval, square, oval, square, oval. But whatever it is that you do, it needs to fill the entire page. Now, we're just gonna make as many of these as we have time for, and then the next time we get together, we're gonna take these, cut them out, and put them together to make characters and environments for our own illustrations. Eric Carle style.